Today we're, as I mentioned last week and the week before, that each of these few weeks on Tuesdays happen to, by circumstance, align with special holiday observances or commemorations. Last week we were in the midst of Passover on the eve of the last few days, and so we added in a Yizkor service prior to our healing service. And next week we have Yom HaZikaron, which is the commemoration of to honor all those who perished for the defense of the land of Israel, who died in terrorist attacks. And juxtaposed between those two moments of Passover, of that slavery to freedom and the freedom of the state of Israel, we have this moment of Yom HaShoah, which is the day of Holocaust remembrance on the Jewish calendar. We have a day earlier in January each year from the international community. Throughout our service today, we'll add in some reflections that are catered to that moment. Throughout these 24 hours, we've been having people sign on to a special Zoom room that is dedicated to reciting names of those who perished in the Holocaust. And so for most of the day, we've had people signing on, and each person who signs on gets a list of names, which is roughly about 800 names that they recite during that hour. And it's very sobering also because the list that I sent to most of those participating this year, the first year we're doing it in our community, is that almost all the names that have been read today are a small portion of the 1.5 million children who perished in the Shoah and in the Holocaust. During the time block that is now, in lieu of reciting those names, knowing that we are in a healing service, a section in which we look for a space to grieve, to mourn, to reflect, it seemed appropriate that today, in the midst of counting all those names, that we really focus in on a few of those stories, because each of those names has a story behind it. Both those who perished in the Shoah and survivors have a story before. And so we want to, and of course, a story that was taken and could not be after. And so by focusing in on some of these stories of the Shoah, we also give tribute to them and give a sense of healing during these difficult times. It was also nice to hear, I was reading a post a friend shared that in Jerusalem, they set up a volunteer network so that when the sirens go off in Jerusalem at 10 o'clock in the morning to commemorate the day, everyone, if they're driving, which they're probably not so much in Jerusalem these days, but people get out of their cars and there's just a moment of silence to focus and remember and recall. And so during that moment, there are people who are volunteered to stand outside the homes of Holocaust survivors so that they don't feel alone during these difficult times. It is something fitting that they have that opportunity to be there as a source of healing. So as I begin, I wanted to share, we'll share the screen in a moment for our regular healing service. Anne Frank wrote down in her diary the words that I still believe that people are good at heart, that we are loved by others and others, and we love those around us, even if they are far away. And so we begin our moment of reflection during these hours, last few hours of Yom HaShoah, to reflect in our song we've come to sing fairly often, the words "We are loved." but knowing that it sort of has again, there are a lot of songs, a lot of poetry written about love. But today I'm thinking of the words of Anne Frank. People are good at heart, and we see that now during these difficult times. So I'll share the screen. There we go. We are here on page 1. We are embraced by arms that find us, even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us, even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us, even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. Embrace, touch, soothe, and counsel. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We are loved, loved, loved by unending love, an unending love. We transition into our booklet. We're singing Adonai Svatai Tiftach. Adonai, open up our lips, and we should speak your praise. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach And we also say the words of Psalm 59, a psalm about refuge, a haven in times of trouble. And it's a difficult passage, especially looking at this on today, on Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, as we remember the souls who were taken, but also with the caveat that we questioned God during this time of trouble, and where was that refuge? And so we know that God can be it, and so it's a difficult time to reflect on that, knowing that we live through a period through Jewish history and through the world history in which there was no refuge in times of trouble. And so we pray for a time where we will have that, where we have peace and serenity. So we'll sing the words Va'ani Ashir Uzecha. Va'ani Ashir Uzecha Ba'aranin Baboker Chastecha Ki Hayita Niskali Umanos Liom Sarli Va'ani Ashir Uzecha Be'aranin Baboker Chastecha Ki Hayita Niskali Umanos Liom Sarli Uzi Eilecha Azamera Azamera Uzi Eilecha Azamera Azamera Uzi Eilecha Azamera Azamera Uzi Eilecha Azamera Azamera Va'ani Ashir Uzecha Be'aranin Baboker Chastecha Ki Hayita Niskali Umanos Liom Sarli Va'ani Ashir Uzecha Be'aranin Baboker Chastecha Ki Hayita Niskali Umanos Liom Sarli. And we join together Hine Matov U'Manaim. Even in difficult times, we celebrate the ability to create this space, knowing that there are times in our history, not so long ago, when we didn't have the space that we could create, not because we didn't have the technology, though that would have also been an issue, but also because people could not convene together in these spaces. And when they did so at the risk of their own lives and their own safety. Puts a little different perspective on the world we are living. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. And I'll stop screen share for just a moment. as I wanted to encourage those joining us on Zoom or on Facebook that those who would like to share if they have family who they lost in the Shoah, in the Holocaust, or they have survivors who they again want to recall in the comments, in our chat, just someone on their mind. Feel free to do so throughout our service. And again, for those who are joining us a little bit late today, we are dedicating today to those who lost their lives during the Shoah, during the Holocaust. And I wanted to sing a special melody, which also is synonymous with the Holocaust, written, the words written by Chana Senesh, who made Aliyah to Israel from Hungary, and then became a paratrooper, a partisan, during the war, and parachuted into what's now Yugoslavia, or was Yugoslavia, back in 1944, and she was captured, but she was known not only for her heroic acts, but also for the beautiful words that she wrote. One of her pieces, Ashrei HaGafur, Blessed is the Match, which is well known, and the one we'll sing now, which is Eli, Eli. And it's, again, finding those beauty even in the difficult moments. We sang, we mentioned earlier, Anne Frank's words, that people are still good at heart, that we need to find the good in the world. And that's not only in people, but also in the simple things of nature, of God's creation. And so I'll share screen again, so we'll get to that for everyone to join in. And we'll sing Eli, Eli, both in Hebrew and then singable. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, achor ve'aya, rishru shel hamayim, v'rak hashamayim, tfilat adam, achor ve'aya, rishru shel hamayim, v'rak hashamayim, tfilat adam. O Lord, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the water, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart. So we return to our stop share. We return again to our, here we go. How's the sound? Is that okay over there? Okay, great. I have my security guard who's talking on the other side of the wall, so I feel secure, but also like you can hear him too. And so we open up our tefillah today with an intention that we'll recite at this time. We ask you, sacred presence, to suffuse our spirits, to open our hearts and minds to the source of all, so that our hearts may heal, our minds may mend, and our souls may be serene. May we, on our journey towards wholeness, be partners with you, source of blessings, and in helping each other, heal creation by discovering you in every moment. Each and every morning we recite these words as we give thanks for the intricacies of our body, something we don't take for granted at any point, but especially during these trying times, knowing the power of breath, the power of our body functions to work in wondrous ways. Praised are you, who with wisdom fashioned the human body, creating openings, arteries, glands, and organs, marvelous in structure, intricate in design. Should but one of them, by being blocked or opened, fail to function, it would be impossible to exist. Praised are you, healer of all flesh, who sustains our bodies in wondrous ways. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. We give thanks for our soul, not just our body, but also as we want healing of our body and soul, we understand that that's a gift as well. O God, you are a consolation to your creatures, for in moments of forgetting, we but call to mind your care, and we are comforted. When we hope no more, a pattern in the sand reminds us of your love. Your dawns give us confidence, and sleep is a friend. Our sorrows dissipate in the presence of an infant's smile, and old men's words revive our will to wish. Your hints are everywhere, your signals in the most remote of places. You are here. We fail words to say ma tov, how good our breath, our rushing energies, our silences of love. And we join together in singing the words Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. As we, again, significance of the ability to breathe, knowing that COVID-19, the coronavirus, is something that takes that away for many people. So we give thanks and we hope that those who are struggling have a space for healing so that they can breathe and that their breath is pure, both physically and spiritually in the days ahead. Elohai neshama shenatata b'teho rahi. 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 We give thanks to God for the everyday miracles. Modim anak nulach. We acknowledge that you, Adonai, are our God and have been God of our ancestors throughout all time. You are the rock of our lives, our shield and our protector. We thank you for our lives that are in your hands, for our souls that are in your charge, for your miracles that daily attend us, and for your wonders and gifts that sustain us. Evening, morning, and afternoon, you are good. Your mercy is everlasting. You are compassionate. Your kindness is never ending. We place our hope in you, source of blessing, Adonai, our God. You are the essence of goodness. It is good to thank you. And each and every Tuesday, we sing this melody, B'Shem Hashem, a prayer about angels. We talked last week about the significance of angels in our lives. Elijah being that symbol of Passover. Even Elijah himself was saved by angels. And we have angels, both the spiritual ones on high and also the ones here in this world that give us gibor, give us strength, give us or, give us light, give us refuah, healing in all directions. And we also think of all those angels who perished in the Shoah, that gave those same qualities to their families, even in dark times, that they brought light and comfort, even in unimaginable moments. And I hope that they continue to be that light, to remind us to have strength in tough times, to persevere, to overcome, and to do so with light that we can bring into this world. Thinking of that or, that light of the yurtzeit candle that we light when we remember a loved one, and especially on this Yom HaShoah, when we light a candle for the 6 million Jews who perished in the Shoah, the 15 plus million who perished throughout the war. And so we hope that they continue, that's not just a candle lit out of context, but really in the context of bringing light into our worlds, so that we never forget them, and then we never forget, so that atrocities like that never happen again. B'Shem Hashem Elohei Yisrael, Mimini Michael, U'mismoli Gabriel, Mi'alfanai Uriel, U'me'achorai Raphael, Ve'al Roshi Ve'al Roshi B'Shem Hashem Elohei Yisrael, Mimini Michael, U'mismoli Gabriel, U'mi'alfanai Uriel, U'me'achorai Raphael, Ve'al Roshi Ve'al Roshi Shekhinate. So at this time, as I said, we bring in moments of reflection for those who lost loved ones, who can't hear myself. And so I want to share, if you think of angels watching over, just a brief excerpt of a story from Janusz Korczak, who was at an orphanage in the ghetto, and who gave comfort in difficult times. And I'll read the excerpt as we think of the angels on high, who had to deal with such difficult circumstances. It was Wednesday, August 5th, 1942, when the Nazis came to the ghetto for the children in Janusz Korczak's charge. It was not clear whether Korczak told the children what they might expect or exactly where they were going. But his staff of teachers and nurses had the 200 orphans ready when the Nazis raided the orphanage at 16 Siena Street. The children had been bathed, given clean clothing, and provided with bread and water to take with them. The Nazis burst in, But the children, though frightened, did not cry out or run and hide. They clung to Korchak, who stood between them and the Germans. Bareheaded, he led the way, holding a child by each hand. Behind him were the rest of the 200 children and a group of nurses clad in white aprons. They were surrounded by Germans and Ukrainian guards and the ghetto police. One could see how weak and undernourished the children were. They marched to their deaths in exemplary order, without a single tear, in such a terrifying silence that it thundered with indictment and defiance. We sing at the top of the next page a song about serenity and peace within our walls. During these difficult times where our walls seem to be caving in, and we feel limited by the space we have physically, but we can extend that by our relationships with others in building community during these difficult times. Yehi shalom b'chevach shalva b'yarmenotai. 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 And as we take some moments for silence, Rabbi Lubliner brought up during his Darash, his Devar Torah this past Shabbat, about the power of silence, that there are different types of silence, and sometimes we don't have the words. When you enter a house of Shiva, we don't say anything. We wait for the bereaved to start that conversation. We try to find the words, but if sometimes there's moments where we should be silent, and we juxtapose that silence with the silence of the Shoah. Those who did not speak up when they could have, those who could have acted, but they again remained silent. And so, as we take these moments to think about loved ones who are in pain, who are in need of healing, we also add in those prayers for all those lives that were silenced during the Shoah. So we'll take a moment to again maybe close our eyes and think of all those loved ones. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel, Adonai, our God is one. And so normally during this moment, we would open up and have people share And so, as I mentioned earlier, those who also want to make comments in the on Facebook or on and you can do it even if you're watching later on Facebook, of those who you're thinking about, to just share our vulnerability, to share that this virtual space in the chat on Zoom, to add in our own personal prayers for healing. And we add in a lot of mishaberachs, a lot of special prayers for healing during these difficult times. And so I would just say, before we sort of have three that pivot our healing service. The first is Debbie Friedman's Mishaberach. And then we also have two melodies that we use for the words of Ana Elna Rafanala, the words that Moses uttered to God, crying out, "Please, please, heal my sister Miriam when she was infected with disease." But when we begin with our Mishaberach from Debbie Friedman, from her words, we also add in our Mishaberach list, and it's a little strange, I'll say, during this time, as I might have mentioned in one of our earlier iterations of our healing service, that there's a gentleman in our community who I was praying for, who would often come to our Saturday healing service. We moved it from Wednesdays to Saturday mornings during the Torah service. And this gentleman was a Saturday morning regular who had been dealing with for cancer for many years. And we have a list that is in Hebrew and in English, and you'll hear the list in a moment. And we have people who kind of hide the fact that they are on the list by having their names maybe just in Hebrew, for those who aren't familiar with their Hebrew name. And we have others who have their name in English. Maybe they don't have a Hebrew name. And we have people who have their names both in Hebrew and in English. But more often than not, the people whose names we see in English aren't around synagogue. They're dealing with those issues at home. They aren't healthy enough to make it to synagogue in many cases. And so I always noticed that this gentleman, Marshall Hodds of blessed memory, was there to have his name be read. And I asked him during one of our healing services last year, I asked him, what does he feel about it? And he took off and said, for me, that's why I come to synagogue, to hear my name on the Mishaberach list. When I hear my name, it means I'm here. I'm still taken. I'm alive. I'm well enough to make it to synagogue. And so for him, that was a space where he did not feel like it was awkward, did not feel like he had to hide the fact that he was sick, but rather it was an affirmation that I am here. And so it's sad to know that now, he passed away the other day after a 11-year battle with cancer. And so this is one of the first times that we read the Mishaberach list in some 9 years of being a member of our congregation, where his name is not on it. And so this is for this moment, it's sort of dedicated to Marshall and all those who are struggling with illnesses, both chronic and coming up all of a sudden during these difficult times. My internet is not working on my computer, so I will look for it. Here we go. And so we are thinking, again, if you know of these any of these names on this Mishaberach list, we always encourage you to reach out to those people and make an extra phone call, an extra FaceTime, to check in, to see how they're doing. And we are thinking of Yisrael ben Blima, Shlomo Michael ben Bracha, Menashe ben Pinima, Shenol bat Batya, Avram ben Esther, Sar Simcha bat Chana, Michal ben Yeta, Yitarachel bat Sir Leah, Yitzhak ben Fega, Sharon bat Esther, Baruch ben Yehudit, Leah bat Miriam, Leah Abigail bat Neshama, Tzaddik ben Avram, Shmuel Reuven ben Batya, Moshe ben Rachel, Shoshan Rivka bat Michal Sarah, Devar bat Sarah Korn Shor, Fega bat Leah, Leah bat Sheva, Penina bat Rivka, Devorah Miriam bat Sarah, Shalom ben Leah, Rivka bat Leah, Chaim ben Rivka Sahaba, Leonessa bat Esther Yosefa, Moshe ben Minna, Yosef ben Mendel, Leah bat Chava, Shoshana bat Rezla, Eliezer ben Shandel, Moshe ben Rachel, Shira bat Maim, Reuven ben Chana, Ephraim ben Lev, Jennifer Abadi, Adele Fleet Bacow, Lawrence Bacow, Vera Benjamin, Stephen Cantor, Alan Shepnick, Alex Diener, Cynthia Disher, Elliot Dribbin, Paula Garfinkel, Marvin Gilman, Eric Held, Aaron Hoden, Morris Jelks, Gloria Jones, Joanne Kagan, Bill Kite, Debbie King, Jerry Lindsay, Teresa Martin, Susan Needle, Dina Pargman, Stephen Paul, Buddy Pollock, Skip Graham, Joseph Ribnick, Harry Rittenberg, Eric Roseman, Arthur Rosenblum, Larry Rosenblum, Joshua Rubin, Arnold Murray Schwartz, Mira Shamash, Loretta Shapiro, Aaliyah Spector, Charles Soule, Jennifer Van Diver, Devorah Wersansky, Barbara Unin, Maury Uden, wounded soldiers and veterans, those injured in attacks of terror in Israel and around the world, victims of gun violence here in the US, those infected with coronavirus, those dealing with the mental health issues, being in quarantine, and again, all those who in our midst who are in need of healing. And we sing together the words of Debbie Friedman's Mishaberach, which I'll share on our page here. Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bestowed in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We have a special prayer for caregivers. And having just read those words of Janusz, the story of Janusz Korczak, who took care of all those children during a difficult time, we think about all the difficult work that caregivers have to do before such a situation as coronavirus, but also knowing the extra angst and burden and stress that is put on caregivers during this difficult time. Show me how to offer hope. Open your hands with the colors of faith, that I might begin to fill in spaces to strengthen another's life. Show me how to offer comfort. Point out your nesting place, feathered against adversities that wound those I love. Show me the direction when I am lost, searching to help but finding no paths. Show me tolerance when I weary of helping, and a long dreary day stretches toward a restless night. You place before us life and love. Show us endurance. You place before us healing and hope. Show us persistence. Reach deep within me eternal strength. Bring my strength to consciousness. Pull it around us. Let it radiate with your power. Let it guide our way. And as I said, we have two melodies that we've been rotating for El Na Refa Nala. So we'll try one of them now. Again, just these, just the Hebrew words for this one. Bringing healing during these difficult times, and finding the moments that we need this hour, which is so precious for me and hopefully for you as well, to break from all the chaos that is around us, to just breathe, and to be. We return for a moment. Now let's see if I can load up these things here. And I want to share a little thing that I found. We'll do it in the chat, and I can even put it on Facebook as well. We talk about creating space for breathing during these difficult times, a space that those who suffered during the Shoah never had. They never had a regular Shabbat, a moment, a sanctuary in time. And even though we are in difficult times, we have the opportunity to create space, to breathe a little extra, to slow down whatever's going on around us, to pray. And so I'll in the chats here, I'll share a visualization that I found online about taking some deep breaths, thinking about a loved one, thinking about the light that they bring to us. And so just something to think and bring a little healing during these difficult times. And the last thing that I'll also share is a few words from Elie Wiesel as we think about those who we mourn on today, Yom HaShoah. How does one mourn 6 million people who died? How many candles does one light? How many prayers does one recite? Do we know how to remember the victims, their solitude, their helplessness? They left us without a trace, and we are their trace. And so as long as we have these moments to remember loved ones that we've known and loved ones that we never had the chance to know, as long as we create this space to love and to heal, then we are the trace that continues to be a sense of peace and wholeness for us and for all we love. And so we conclude with the singing of Oseh Shalom, a prayer of peace, a prayer for wholeness, for shleimut during these difficult times. We'll also, again, we'll be back next week at 5 o'clock. And we'll have a special reflection or two for Yom HaZikaron, which is Israel's, as I said before, it's Israel's day to recall and remember all those who perished so that Israel can be what it is today, a thriving country. So we honor the soldiers who perished, for those who perished in terrorist attacks, and so we'll have moments to reflect on that, those moments as well within the space that we've created. So we sing Oseh Shalom in a lower key. Ose shalom bimroma. Buya se shalom aleinu. Be'ako Yisrael. Be'imru, imru amen. Ose shalom bimroma. Buya se shalom aleinu. Be'ako Yisrael. Be'imru, imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom aleinu v'yalko Yisrael. 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 May the one who brings peace to the universe bring peace and wholeness to us, to all the people Israel, and all the people of the world. Thank everyone for being with us on Zoom, and as well on. Thanks to my parents for always joining on 2 different accounts. So it looks like we have more people on Zoom. Thank you to Susan and Beth, and we also thank everyone again joining on Facebook. I hope that this continues to be a source of comfort for you, and if you know of others who would benefit, always feel free to share, and you can tag them in our posts on Facebook afterwards to share, and if at the very least to have them build in an hour into their week to be, and just sometimes we just need to be during these difficult times. So thank you everyone for joining.